Bethesda is an embarrassment. Todd Howard is a certified snake soil salesman. And none of you are commenting, does this look fine? Is this good? I've been asking for 3 videos straight or something, and none of you are telling me anything. Guys, please, give me some feedback here. I'm begging you, like, come on. But anyway, Bethesda bad.
Bethesda has been facing a wake-up call for years now, and I really think it began in the Fallout 4-ish days, even as far back as Skyrim when you had the game, and it still doesn't run that well on the PlayStation 3, but Fallout 4 was really a turning point for myself. There was a lot to enjoy from that experience, but the clunky, dated design is one of those things that constantly gets criticized, and it has only continued.
Fallout 3 is not one of my favorites. I think Fallout 4 is honestly better. I know, wild take. Let the VODs begin. But I think it's like Skyrim. Even though it's not the best in my opinion, I can easily still sink 40, 50 hours into that bad boy, no problem. Because all in all, I think it's still, in general, a good game. Maybe it lacks in story. Maybe it lacks in depth. But it's still fun. It's still interesting.
And even with Starfield, a lot of the problems that were complained about 10 years ago have only continued. And that's why discussions have been had about the future of Bethesda game studios and whether that future involves their creation engine. Now, it's important to understand here in 2025, Bethesda is still concentrating a little bit on Starfield. They have their second big expansion that's in development. Just recently, they said that the
Starborn. Man, dude. The first expansion, Shattered Space, did not move the needle at all. No one cared. I was thinking, oh boy, here comes the paycheck. Here comes rent for a generation. Here comes a second house, baby. Oh yeah, Starfield Shattered Space. I milked like 2 videos from it. It was horrible. The apathy was so high, people didn't even care to shit on it. It was horrible. My dreams of wealth and fortune completely besmirched and destroyed by Todd Howard's evil fucking manlety small child arm like-ish grip. Man, that is such a disappointment. So I'm honestly not banking a lot on the next expansion if they actually ever do it. I think that by law obliged because they officially stated that there's going to be 2 expansions. So anything other than bankruptcy is going to be kind of forcing them to fulfill this obligation. But still, I am not banking anything on that, okay? I'm giving up. Don't worry. We have 250 Starfield bad videos on this channel. Not even joking, by the way. And that's exclusively Starfield bad. Bethesda bad alone is probably in the high 500s at this point. Man, I really love what I do, don't I? It puts a smile on my face, boys, and I hope you enjoyed also.
While they remember that Starfield still does in fact exist, they promised new space gameplay in the back half of a random video that doesn't even mention Starfield in the title, but fortunately a couple weeks later we did get an official tease at the next.
To be fair, to be absolutely fair, because I try to be as impartial as I can. If Bethesda does something good, I will say that they did good. Okay? But then as a true consumer, I will threaten them because obviously we can never be, as consumers, we can never be nice to these companies. You always need to be, okay, this was not bad, but you better keep doing it or else. Okay, that's the way we should live our lives. But to be fair, this is better than World of Warcraft and Season of Discovery, where you were supposed to read the new patch updates and speculations of what's going to happen on a random YouTube video with 5 fucking views because the devs decided to commandeer the whole patch. Which is a real thing that, by the way, has happened. Which is wild.
Big expansion, Terran Armada. Will it totally transform the experience? Will it make it a game of the year? Everybody loves Starfield suddenly? I highly doubt that. Shattered Space was supposed to represent that. It did not. It actually made the reputation of Starfield even worse. Hopefully with Terran Armada, it at least delivers a interesting.
Oh, right, Terran Armada. Because, like House Varun just existed there randomly and no one knew where it is. There's another group of people that exists there and no one knows The less questions you ask about how any of Starfield makes sense, honestly, the better you sleep at night.
Good experience. We'll see. I think the Starfield universe is just devoid of a lot of interest within it. There's not a lot going on that really can draw people in saying, this is the faction I love. This is the thing I want to see explored in new games. There just isn't that community that you see like with Fallout or the Elder Scrolls. But obviously, you know, Bethesda's still doing some work with Starfield. We'll see if there's a future beyond Terran Armada, but they are working right now. Their main concentration, at least at their Maryland office, which is their main studio, is on the Elder Scrolls 6. And once the Oblivion remaster was released earlier this year, Todd Howard, who really wasn't involved or any of his team was involved in that remaster, was an outside studio, but he said, obviously, we're working on the 6th.
Now. Obviously, Bethesda had a play in that, and they added gender type A and gender type B, and people hated that, and it got modded out in a day. The Nexus mods proceeded to ban that mod because wokeness is a real thing, sadly.
Chapter here, and there's been little tidbits here and there. We'll talk about that in a separate video, but the Elder Scrolls 6 is very much in development, probably just a couple of years away, and we're starting to hear a lot of conversation surrounding what the Elder Scrolls 6 should represent, and also how
it's gonna represent diversity. Okay, listen, Hammerfell is an actual location in the Elder Scrolls universe, and it's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool. But, I mean, the Vogue devs chose Hammerfell not because it's interesting. They chose it so they have an excuse for a whites not existing.
Bethesda Game Studios really needs to evolve as a developer. Some of that is with its writing, which in recent years has at best been competent, at worst boring and dreadful and really laughable. Fortunately, there's a ton of interesting lore and plot points like the Dwemer's fate, what's going on with the Aldmeri Dominion, the Thalmor, that I hope we do get explored in this new installment.
Honestly, who cares? I vaguely recognize these names, but I don't actually remember why they matter at this point. I just vaguely recognize them because the more you know about Elder Scrolls lore, the worse it gets, sadly.
Whether that's in a satisfying manner, that's a different question. But that is just one.
I mean, keep in mind, people forget this because no one except 5 people play Elder Scrolls Online, but Elder Scrolls Online canonized, I think that's the one, canonized the fact that the Daedra are trans and non-binary. Yes. The gods, instead of being inconceivable creatures of fucking effectively warp energy, let's be real, are now trans. See, I told you. It's so much better the less lore you know about this game. It just instantaneously makes everything so much more interesting the less you fucking know about this disaster, doesn't it? It's like a miracle, honestly, at this point. But yes, that's a real thing. I hope you're happy with that one, eh? The more you know, the more you know. Also, by the way, boys, listen. Like the video right now and hype it up on a mobile device. And you know, it takes less than a second. It greatly helps me out, and I appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who does it. And if you think it's important for people to know about these discussions that we're having about stuff that's happening, then definitely right now like the video and hype it up. And thank you for everyone who does. It truly helps a lot, and every time you like the video, like 2 more people are gonna find it. So, thank you, everyone.
One piece of the puzzle, because then there's the technical side, an aging, constantly updated engine that feels like it's running on fumes in 2025 and still isn't where it needs to be. We'll dive more into that technical aspect in a second, but indeed the pressure is on. The Elder Scrolls 6 is one of the most highly anticipated games of all time, probably right behind the likes of Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 6 right now, and a former developer actually said that even if the Elder Scrolls 6 is great, he still thinks Bethesda developers are going to face a lot of horrible comments being sent their way, and even some threats and such.
Oh no! The death threats that everyone keeps telling they're getting, but no one has ever... By the way, boys, I received like 250 trillion death threats a second. Life's hard. You know, it is what it is.
And I just can't really get behind this perspective because we've seen other developers in this industry face a lot of criticism. I mean, you look to what CD Projekt Red went through with Cyberpunk 2077, the launch day version. Developers were being constantly attacked over that, but by the time Phantom Liberty released and that 2.0 update, the tune on the game just changed drastically. And you can even look to Rockstar Games themselves. I mean, with Red Dead Redemption 2 beforehand, there was a lot of questions if they were going to be able to deliver, especially with all the years of Grand Theft Auto Online nonsense. And even Larian, say what you will, but some people were extremely skeptical over the fact that they were going to be reviving Baldur's Gate. A lot of people nervous about a developer that had no focus on the franchise beforehand getting involved with it, and obviously
Again, I have said this so many times. I don't think it matters nowadays, okay? Your previous accolades, your non-accolades, I mean, the main thing that always just rings true is the fact is the developer visibly fucking invoke and stuff like that. Are they visibly an ally? If so, problems, because they're just gonna make a game into a political statement and care more about, you know, the useless garbage stuff that we don't care about than actually making a fun out good game. That's just how things happen. But other than that, new studios taking over long-established titles could be a win. I mean, look at Blizzard. they can't do anything right. And that old guard has left already and made their own studios, and they're fucking failing like there's no tomorrow. We talked about this 2 days ago, you know? Every senior developer at Blizzard game that has been launched as a solo project has failed, crashed, and burned spectacularly. So, you know, the only thing that I'm worried about is the fact that Baldur's Gate is dead. Because Baldur's Gate 4 is going to be made by Wizards of the Coast. And they literally, if you don't play Magic, you don't know this, but they are ridiculously woke. We're actually going to talk about D&D yet again becoming even more woke and gay tomorrow. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. They made half the Lord of the Rings cast black. Angels canonically literally are coming out also black. It's insane. It is so ridiculous.
they delivered big time. Now, can Bethesda do the same with The Elder Scrolls 6? I don't know, but I genuinely think that that is the type of pressure
Vikings, oh boy, of course they were black.
that they have to know that's going into this project. And I do think the game has to be great, especially with the massive gap between Skyrim and this new installment. And if it's anything less, you're going to hear it from fans. And obviously, I'll never get behind people going after developers and such, but this does fall on leadership. Leadership needs to understand the anticipation and the expectations that fans have for this new installment. But this is where things get really interesting, because one of the big things that has hurt Bethesda over the years is their game engine. This is something that goes as far back to the Skyrim days. I mean, hell, even to this day, it still runs horribly on PS3. The unofficial patch is still something that's very noteworthy with the impact that it had on this entire gaming industry. But the Gamebryo, which came the Creation Engine, then the Creation 2.0, still to this day feels extremely dated and clunky. One of the earliest moments I remember just thinking to myself, this has to go, was probably right around Fallout 4. That was the experience that said to me, like, I genuinely don't know why Bethesda Game Studios is continuing on this engine. But we actually heard recently from a former developer which parroted the same perspective that has been a very divided opinion for a long time now. Bethesda should abandon the Creation Engine for Unreal Engine 5, says former dev. And this is specifically coming from a former Bethesda lead artist, and he actually quit during Starfield's development because the team had grown too much. Now, Nate Perkypile has been extremely critical, I guess you could say over the last year or so, about what Bethesda Game Studios has become. Not necessarily just with the engine, but how the studio overall has just, it's no longer what it used to be. Now, he worked at Bethesda for 14 years, during which he was the lead artist on Fallout 76, and he worked on other titles including Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and Skyrim. Before that, he worked at Retro Studios.
Oh, wow. You know what? Actually, there is one thing that I can say good about Fallout 76. Only one, though. Keep in mind. And that is that the map design and layout is pretty decent. It's really decent, actually, if I think about it. One of the reasons that I have come to understand after playing Tainted Grail why Skyrim actually is so good is because it's a big map. We say that maps don't need to be big, but maps need to be big. If you're gonna make an open world game, it better be big. And that is necessary because of one simple reason. Tainted Grail has done an absolutely amazing fucking job at designing the environment, okay? There's elevation, they cram so much, so unbelievably much in so little space, it's insane. It's one of the best design things ever. But it feels kind of bad if you want to explore everything. Because you know that around every corner that's literally 3 seconds away from walking, there's going to be something else. And that makes it sometimes hard to just choose, do you want to go in direction A or direction B? Because right there around the corner is something else. And I think the reason why Skyrim was so beloved by many people is because you know in which direction you want to go in Skyrim always. And along the way, there's going to be stuff. But there's not going to be, like, stuff every 2 steps, so you don't get overwhelmed. You find something, you start moving in a direction, and then you find something along the way. True, but it's not like you find it every 5 seconds. You know, you actually spend a little bit of time walking. I think that's important in games. I think that's actually very, very underrated, in fact. And yeah, so we need big maps. Big maps is something that we need. Tainted Grail's biggest problem, honestly, well, admittedly, that probably would be some dialogue options, but a bigger map would have been so much better if they just spaced it out a little bit.
Now, Perkypile.
And the Fallout 76 good part is the map design. It's pretty good. I don't know how it is now. I think it's oversaturated now, if judging from the stuff that I have seen. But previously, I liked it. I liked it a lot. You actually felt like traveling the wasteland. That was the only good thing about Fallout 76. Yeah, we finally found something good that had to be said about 76. Still nothing good to be said about Starfield, though.
Left Bethesda in 2021 to form his own solo studio called Just Perky Games, and Perkypile said that while he enjoyed his time at Bethesda, he left during the development of Starfield because the team size had become far too large in his opinion. And this is kind of one of those concerns that a lot of people have with modern development studios. I mean, this is one of the big things I had as a criticism with BioWare and what became of that studio, especially in the recent years. And it's no longer the BioWare that we all fell in love with, especially during the Mass Effect trilogy days. But even of the new Rising Star Studios, looking at the Sandfall Interactive, what they accomplished with Expedition 33, I was extremely hopeful after that experience that they didn't expand beyond what they were. And that's one of the things that they came out specifically saying, we're not going to expand in this giant behemoth studio. We're going to keep the core vision, this creative group that made this game, we're going to keep it to what it is. And that's, I think, a smart thing, especially in this day and age with how we've seen so many development studios being harmed by expanding way too big. Now, Perkybell goes on to say, I know a lot of people have thoughts on Starfield and how it probably is too big, should have been smaller, etc. I agree with a lot of that. And while I enjoyed working at Bethesda a lot, when we were about 65 to 110 people on Fallout 3 and Skyrim, I enjoyed it a lot less as it grew and grew. And this is something that, again, a lot of developers have talked about. It's just when you have these smaller groups of developers, it's easier to get thoughts and ideas into a game rather than...
Diablo 4 has credited something, 11, was it 11 or was it 13k people? Yes. 11,000 people minimum have worked on Diablo 4 and gotten contribution to it. That's insane.
When you have hundreds and thousands of developers involved in a project, because it has to go through so many different individuals to get things approved, it just creates a giant mess. And I think that's what we've seen with a lot of these big franchises and why a lot of them have fallen on hard times. But Perkypile did not stop just there. This former lead artist had a lot more to say, and yes, he gets into why Bethesda should be switching to Unreal Engine 5. Now, he says in a recent interview with Kiwi Talks, he explained why he thinks it's time for Bethesda to move over to Unreal Engine 5. I think it's pretty telling that there are some studios with similar tech that have made that leap lately, like CD Projekt Red. It's not to say that it wouldn't be a ton of work. Sure, that's completely true. It's not like you're going to be able to start making the game, but when you have this large tool base and large knowledge base people could pull from, it's easier to hire people and ramp up. I'm of the opinion that it's easier to stay relevant.
It doesn't look like, to be honest, Bethesda has problems in this regard, though. They have the developers, they have everything. It's just everything that they do sucks.
And not always try to play catch up, like a lot of what was done on Starfield was trying to get all of these rendering systems and animation systems up to snuff, and it makes it hard to even actually make the game. The way I describe it is to people is that you're on a train but also laying the train tracks at the same time, but it's also on fire the entire.
Listen, Starfield looked good enough. I'm not gonna lie, I don't give a shit how Starfield looked, okay? The problem with Starfield wasn't that. It was the fact that the game was boring, dull, uninspired, and just... Well, it was literally boring in every way possible. Exploration, boring. Leveling, boring. Starfield is one of those very, very few games where I caught myself playing, and I was like, oh, I leveled up, and I opened the level up tab, and it's like, oh, I leveled up 5 times, huh? Yeah, because the level ups don't fucking matter. It's boring.
Time. And say what you will, that is something that CD Projekt Red developers described Cyberpunk 2077's development as. They had to put those train track pieces down while they're trying to develop a game, and it really hurt that studio at that time. And that is why they pulled the plug on the Red engine and now are working on UE5 in collaboration with Epic Games. Now, Porcupine did respond to articles about it. He said, "This is me. In case it's not clear, I'm not saying it would be zero work. Obviously, it'd be a ton. I just think that's less work than the constant need to play catch up and the lost productivity due to how that engine works. I've shipped games with both." Now, Porcupine is not the only former Bethesda developer to chime in on this conversation, because Skyrim's former lead designer actually admitted Bethesda shifting to Unreal would lose tech debt, but that is not the point. And this is a different perspective on the matter, one that I take considerable issue with. Now, speaking to video gamers, Skyrim lead designer
Oh, the monkey's so desperate that they need to invent names like tech debt. Oh, please. Just admit you're in the wrong profession. Just admit being a coder is stupid and it sucks. It is what it is. We all make mistakes.
and ex-Starfield system designer Bruce Nesmith, who left the studio just a couple of years ago, revealed that the current version of the creation engine has been perfectly tuned to make the sweeping, reactive worlds that Bethesda creates. And the problem right here is it's perfectly tuned to the type of game that Bethesda wants to make, but the type of game that Bethesda is making is just dated. It's not keeping up with what the standards are nowadays that have been set from the likes of Baldur's Gate 3, even Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. These are experiences that Bethesda should be looking at for inspiration, and also understanding that technology it does matter. You need to keep up with the times. Now, this is where Nesmith, he goes on to discuss should they be switching to Unreal Engine. He says the game engine is not the point.
I don't think it matters for Bethesda, is it Unreal Engine or not. Well, to be honest, at this point, I'm so jaded and done with Bethesda. I just want them to do something that hurts them the most. Because I literally have... I seriously have absolutely no want for Fallout 5. No want for Elder Scrolls 6. I want none of it. They're gonna fail. They're gonna be bad games. I don't want them. If they're gonna make them, I honestly hope that they're gonna be as buggy as possible. I hope they're so buggy, so unplayable, and people hate them so much that we can laugh for at least a year straight how bad Bethesda is. Because I don't want a half-baked game that people are gonna be like, well, could have been good. I don't want that. And I know that that's the best that we're getting. At the best, we're getting like a sob story of, well, it could have been good. And mods are not going to fix a whole game. Mods can improve parts of games. Mods cannot fix a whole game. That's just it. That's how it goes. Anyway, that was Legacy Kill HD 10 out of 10. Bye!